Hey YouTubers, welcome back. Here's a small Mastercraft snowblower made by Noma, or I should say part of a snowblower. It's got the Mastercraft brand on it, which is a local Canadian store here called Canadian Tire. And there are the other parts that go on that blower, the front end. So one of my neighbors just dropped it off one day, said I could have it. He knows I do this kind of stuff. So what I have to do is operate on the front auger system of this machine. There's the brand new gear that I have here. There's a side panel. You can see all the shavings from the old gear there. Here's the old gear. Look at the teeth on that. They must have hit something with it for it to do that. Anyways, I cleaned the other side of the panel here. It was full of brass shavings and grease and all that, so I got that out with a bit of gas and a paintbrush. I didn't clean this side panel because I wanted you guys to see all the shavings in there. So I'm going to clean that in a pail of gas, or you could use engine cleaner to do that, or if you have a parts washer as well, that would work the best to do that. So it came to me all in parts like that, so obviously all I'm going to be making is a video on how to reassemble it. So for safety reasons, I'm doing this outside. And I've got my paintbrush. If you're wondering what to do with your old gas, you can always keep it to wash your parts. You also want to get all the old grease out because it's going to be impregnated with brass shavings. Now I just finished cleaning the parts and look at all the brass shavings down there. Now before we start this operation, you want to make sure that the shaft is going to fit freely through the gear and the covers. Now you want to grab your shaft and wire brush all the rust off of here and all the way through. Any little marks like that on the shaft will prevent the gear from sliding on properly, so you either want to file them down or grind them down. If you remember, a little while ago I posted a video on how to free an auger from a seized shaft. Well, that's the same blower that I'm working on today. So that's why there's a lot of rust and a bit of damage on that shaft. I'm going to get it all smoothed up and then we can go on. What works good to get the rust off is a little grinder like that with a wire brush, and make sure you've got your safety glasses when you do this. So what you want now is to be able to insert your gear all the way down to where it should be with no problems. So the rust was caked on so much that I had to use the grinding part of the grinder. So it doesn't look pretty, but anyways, it fits on there pretty good. And I only did it to one side of the shaft because that's all you need to put in the gear. The other side I left it the way it is. I just wire brushed the rust off of it. So now what you want to do is assemble all your parts. Make sure you've got the bushings on each side panel. There's one here, and on the other side here the bushings got to go in. So you want to line up the flat side of the bushing to this part over here, and they're going to line up. If you can't push it in, you're going to have to pound it in with a piece of wood. Just put a piece of hardwood over top your bushing and then pound it in. By using the wood, you prevent damage to the other parts. What you need to do at this point is get some grease for your gear case. What I'm using here is an MTD grease. It's part number 7370300A, and this grease is specifically for gearboxes like that. If you don't have this grease, you can get a low temp grease or low temp synthetic grease that will do the job. Now the instructions when you do a gearbox like this is to only fill 1/2 with this grease. Apparently this tube here is good for about 2 gearboxes. So I'm just going to grab one of the halves and fill it up with grease. It's nice and soft. This grease is going to stay nice and soft even if it's -40 outside. And I'm just going to stick a bit in here. Make sure a bit goes inside the bushings. Just going to put a bit inside the other bushing here. Now I'll try to keep the edges here nice and clean like that because we're going to be putting a gasket there and some RTV silicone. Now before I start installing the parts, I just want to show you the difference between both gears. Look at that. There's 22 teeth on this gear, I believe. That's pretty damaged. The part number for the new gear is number 51405MA. The letters MA at the end of the numbers. And this part's going to come from Briggs & Stratton. Briggs & Stratton bought out Murray and Noma. What I'm going to do at this point is grab just a tad of grease and stick it on the shaft on the side that I'm sliding in the gear from. Just to make it nice and smooth when you put that gear on. And the new gear is going to come right to the keyhole here. The next step would be to put in the little keyway into the shaft. Now you want to grab your gear, it doesn't matter which side of the gear you put in the shaft, slide it on. Now what you want to do is bring it to where the keyway is, line up the hole on the gear to it there. Put your finger on the keyway so it doesn't pop out. Then line up the gear right in the center there. So the keyway is not going to stick out either side. Now what you need to grab is one of these washers, and it goes right beside the bushing, inside the cover. There's going to be another washer like that for the other cover as well. Now what I'm going to do is insert the shaft over this, and I've got this set up in a vise. If the gear comes out like it just did, just line it back up with the keyway. Now you can slightly tighten up the vise to secure everything. Now I'm going to clean off any grease that's gone on the edges here. You want that super clean. And for the other washer here, just dip it a little bit in that grease and slide it on the shaft. Now what I'm going to do is put some RTV silicone all around the edges. This specific silicone resists oil and gas, so it's good for this application. You don't need to put too much. And you also want to put some on the other cover as well. Now that's ready. Now what you need is the other part of the auger shaft that goes in there. Make sure you've got this bushing here at the end with some grease in there. And now you want to insert that in there like that. So here's a better view. You want to make sure the bushing here is like this. And this one here, just like that. You can also use something to prop it up so it doesn't fall down on you. And the oil seal here is going to go in the groove over here that you see where it fits in perfectly. So line all this up. Now this specific model of blower uses a gasket, so I had to make one. Yes, I did use a cereal box to make it because I didn't have a gasket available, and I didn't want to wait just for a gasket like that. Now on some blowers all you need is RTV silicone and you do not need a cardboard gasket. Also you can buy a product called Eliminate a Gasket and you do not need any gasket at all with that stuff. Now just line up all the holes evenly together. Now grab your other cover with the RTV silicone and a bit of grease at the end of the bushing like you see in here. Now insert the cover on the shaft and bring down the cover to line up with the other one. Now as soon as you can, install the bolts with the nuts. So what you want to do now is tighten one over here, then over here, over there, so just crisscross so that it's tightened up evenly. So just snug them to start with, and then go on the other side. And now tighten them all up.